So Coach K, we've known each other a long time. I could tell all kinds of stories about when I first met you, but I don't think that people are interested in hearing about from me or hear my stories. I think they're interested in hearing your stories. So we've gathered questions from the people who registered to come here today. And by the way, we have some buses of students that are caught in Chicago traffic. I know that's shocking to you.
Imagine that.
Anybody could be caught in Chicago traffic.
Some things never change.
So there may be some people coming in en masse in the middle of the remarks, but we'll just flow with it. So we asked people who registered if they had questions they wanted to ask you, and we got some in. So the first question comes from Leonard Lempa, who is a UIC alum. I don't know if Leonard is here, but you grew up nearby in what is now, is that where you grew up?
That's it. That's it.
Yep.
Cortez Street.
There you go.
Second floor. Yeah.
So Danny Wirtz of the Blackhawks lives in this house now and sent me the photograph this past week. So you grew up nearby in what is known as the Ukrainian Village. You went to St. Helens Elementary School. That's your. Oh, wait, is that you?
Oh my God. I had the biggest ears at St. Helens. And if I do a profile shot, I was right in the nose contention.
So I told you there would be a few surprises for you today.
That's a long time ago.
You grew up nearby in what is known as the Ukrainian Village now. Tell us a little bit about the Chicago of your youth.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's an honor to be with all of you and back in this great city. This is the best city in the world. And
you know it.
And it is because it embraces all cultures. Yeah, you can go around the city and you can find everything. The last Olympics I coached in was in Rio in 2016, and we tried to get the Olympics here in Chicago. And we felt it would be the best because every country is represented in our cities. It truly is the most unique city in the world. I love Chicago. I love my alma mater, St. Helens. Thank you. Wait a minute.
He's getting there.
We're only on the big ears in grammar school. We wait a little bit. They don't get any bigger, but they're still big in high school. And but growing up, I grew up in the best time. And it was a Polish community at that time, and everything was centered around a church, a parish. You're part of your community was your parish, and St. Helens was that for me. The new church, it's not new anymore, but the old church turned into a gym. So the court is named after me and my brother, okay? And my brother passed 12 years ago. He's older than me, and he was the good-looking guy, all right? I was the runt of the litter, so to speak. But my brother never went to college, but he was my hero, and he was a Chicago fire captain. And so his family, our family, is still here. All my friends, my buddy Mo, who's been my friend for 70 years, still lives here. And I root for not all the Chicago teams. So. It's got to be the Cubs or the White Sox, all right? And I'm North Side, so nothing against. What the hell? We're in first place for a little bit right now. Let's go have a beer. But I grew up in a very protected environment because everyone in the community protected one another. When I was 7 or 8 years old, you could go to a schoolyard without your parents and stay there all day and just play and come back, and everyone had each other's back. And my mom was a cleaning lady. She only had an 8th grade education. She was a cleaning lady at the Chicago Athletic Club. And my dad, who passed when I was a senior at West Point, was an elevator operator. And he did odd jobs at Willoughby Tower. Willoughby Tower is still on Michigan. And only 2 years of high school But they believed in education. And I had a Catholic school education, and I don't know how they paid for it. They did. And my mom had 2 dresses. That's it. And she says, why do I need more? And I would start crying. You know, so I grew up with a level of support and love that made me feel like I was going to be something. And I never worried about failure because I had this enormous net ready to catch me if something happened. And you know what? I could never fail in front, you know, for my mom, you know. And I learned from my mom the dignity of work. Like, you know, Polish people, that's who I am. But Chicago people are workers. You know, you give us a job, we'll get it done. You know, any job, we'll get it done. And when I went to West Point, I'd come back in my uniform, and I'd come back, and my mom, she was on Superior Street at that time, and right around Superior and Oakley, and she would say, "Mike, you think you're a hot ticket?" And I said, "Ma, I am a hot ticket. I'm your son. You know, I am a hot ticket." And she says, "Well, just so you know, I have my master's degree." I said, "Ma, you have to go to high school, college." "No, I'm a domestic engineer." And I chase dirt, and I always catch it. And every job she did was meticulous. And it's amazing what love and support can do. You can't buy it. And so that's my background. And my family afforded me the opportunity where I was a really good all-state basketball player. And I went to West Point and played under Bob Knight there. And my parents made me go to West Point. I was the leading scorer in the Catholic League for a couple years. And I was either going to go to Wisconsin or Creighton. And Coach Knight came in and at the end of my senior year, and when he left, my parents said, "You're going to West Point." I said, "I'm not going to West Point." And my mom says, "That's where presidents go." And I said, "Ma, I don't want to be president. I want to be a point guard." And I told Coach Knight no. And for a couple weeks, my family verbally assaulted me. And they would speak Polish. And my brother and I, they didn't want us to take Polish because they didn't want us to have accents. And at that time, there was a lot of ethnic discrimination. And but in the kitchen, every night it was, imagine this being Polish. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, stupid. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, Mike. All right. So I took this, I said, "It's not going to work. It's not going to work." 2 weeks later, I said, "I'll go." And I was still able to get in. And I call it the best decision I never made. I never made that decision. But I get chills thinking about it because who knows what would have happened. They believed in me and they loved me and they wanted something better for me. Throughout my career with my players, when I would get them, especially if they would play kind of soft in a game, I'd get into it. I said, "You need to be as tough as your mother." "What do you mean?" And then they would see my mom come to a game. "Yeah, I'd say, "You're not tougher than her." She never was tired or sick. I never knew of my mom having a day off. And she certainly never had a day off in support of me. So if you don't turn out to be somewhat successful with that, then you really stink, you know? And so I had that all my whole life, you know, that level of support. And I've tried to build that same thing with my own family. My wife and I have been married 55 years. Yeah. We got married when we were 12, and it's what Polish, we do that. No, we don't. And we got married on graduation day at West Point. And we have 3 beautiful daughters. They all live within 10 minutes of us. and 10 grandkids. And we are, boom, 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 we are a hell of a family. And that's what I learned in Chicago. And look, I'm telling you stories that you're living too. You know, that's the kind of city this is. So it's an honor to be here and be a part of UIC. You know, my dad, in the latter part of his life, owned a small tavern on 21st Place in Damon. And we lived on the north side, not the near north side. So we'd go Damon Avenue and you'd see UIC, right? All the medical, but that's all I knew. And today, the Chancellor and I, we walk, it's beautiful. What a, you know, it's a treasure for our city. Are you kidding me? And it's got pretty good property too. So you got a good location. And so to be here in support of what UIC is doing, and obviously what she is doing, we've been family for over 4 decades. So thank you for coming out. I've had a wonderful day with students going all around. By the way, she has a heck of an office. Yeah, and no, I'm a little bit jealous. It's got a panoramic view of the city, and I said, "You're a hot ticket, man. You got this thing going." And
sure, I'm a hot ticket. You're my mentor.
That's my mom again. But you know, my mom was the best person in my life, and no one believed in me more. And as a result, you know, you couldn't fail, really. You know, and then you were never afraid to try. You know, to like people ask, do you feel a lot of pressure? Heck, pressure is if you have cancer and there's no cure. You know, that's pressure. Pressure isn't going into a big game when you have a good team and the other guys have a good team. That's an opportunity, man. You know, so, but Chicago gave me that background, and Chicago will always be my hometown. We're not moving back, though. Our weather in North Carolina is pretty good, and that's where Duke is, and I still work at Duke, and we have a beautiful, and all my grandkids are there. And so imagine 10 grandkids, they all live within 10 minutes. How, you know, God bless. I tried to teach my wife, she's Baptist, she does it with her left hand, and no, right hand, you go this way. So this way. Says, well, so I'm okay, I don't need to know that.
Well, I will point out that you're originally scheduled to be here on February 20th, and because there was snow in North Carolina, and it was a beautiful sunny day here in Chicago.
Now, beautiful and sunny in February in Chicago, I knew she was lying.
It was a beautiful day.
So you don't see the sun from November till April, something?
You can go
although
back,
we see it today.
You can go back and look at the meteorological records. I promise you it was sunny.
When
it was cold.
When it snows in North Carolina, forget it. Yeah. You know, we don't have any. Anyway, we couldn't get out.
You talked about going to West Point as the best decision you never made. And how about if you, there you are.
Right, Coach Knight.
With Coach Knight. How did going to West Point and serving in the military shape your ideas about leadership and duty?
You know, I'm 78 years old now, and I've studied leadership for the last 60 years. And I love leadership. I'm a professor of leadership at our Fuqua School of Business at Duke, and I speak a lot around the country about leadership and teamwork. But when I was 18 and a freshman at West Point, they're called plebes, and they kind of hammer you, you know, and they put you in positions where you fail, you know, to change your limit. There's no app. You can't. I'm going to improve. I'm going to buy an app. You know, you actually have to fail. You know, you get your butt beat and whatever. And we had a mantra that when you failed, failure was not our destination. So that became a part of who I was at 18. And then you had to figure out how to be successful, whether it be a different strategy or you form a team to win, that you couldn't do it alone. So you started learning about teamwork. But we had 3 answers when you were a plebe. Yes, sir, no, sir, and no excuse, sir. And the no excuse thing is something I embraced for 60 years. Because when something happened, it wouldn't be like, man, you can't believe the traffic, and you start doing excuse hands, you're late. Yeah, but no, the only thing I know is you're late. And so you say, no excuse. So for the last 60 years, when something happens like that, for me, I am solution-oriented. When something happens, you don't think of the excuse, you think of the solution. It's a hell of a thing. And that's a habit for me, and I learned that at West Point. And I learned a lot of things at West Point. Then I was an officer for 5 years in the field artillery. And I can remember my first assignment. I was in a 155 self-propelled battery. That's like a company at Fort Carson, Colorado. And I was the executive officer. I'm a first lieutenant. And I go in, and there's these howitzers, just big boys, man. And so in the armed forces, the best people in the armed forces are the non-commissioned officers, the NCOs. They are the experts. They're terrific. So my NCO was a staff sergeant in E6, was named Sergeant Cawthorn. He was the chief of smoke, because we bring smoke on whatever we're going to smoke. And so I met with him the first day, and I said, Sergeant Cawthorn, you and I both know one thing to be true, at least. And he said, what's that, sir? And I said, that you know more about these howitzers than I do. And he laughed, he smiled, and he said, you're right, sir. And I said, I know I'm right. I want you to teach me. And I want you to follow your instincts in what we're doing while I'm learning, while I'm getting better. I said, make me better. I said, I think I'm a good leader. I know I can lead these men, and I think if the two of us work together, we're both going to get better, but you know who's really going to be better? Our unit. And so that's why I started coining the expression, 2 is better than 1 if 2 can act as 1. And we did. And so where do you learn that? What course do you take? These are all, if they didn't go da-da-da-da-da stupid, and I didn't stop being stupid, I would have never learned all. And they were hard lessons because, you're put, it wasn't, I'm not saying, you get your stuff handed to you a little bit. And, but then you get tough and you learn to function as a unit. And so I've been fascinated about leadership and teamwork my entire life. It's the best profession in the world, leadership. It transcends every profession on this planet. If you don't have good leadership in whatever you're doing, you're not going to be that good. And so I keep studying about it. When I'm 80, I want to be a better leader. I want to keep becoming, and I think that's what being in the situations that I've been in. That's how I do things. I'm excited about it. I'm curious, and it keeps you young. I've lost a lot of my body parts, not the ears or the nose, but I have 2 artificial hips, 2 artificial knees, and an artificial ankle. My wife says, you got 1 more part. I said, I'm not doing anything with the ankle. And she says, no, I'm talking about your head. I said, I'm definitely not, just take it easy, hotshot. We're not going there. But, and I did all these things so I could have movement, keep working. People say you're retired. I'm not retired. I'm retired from coaching and recruiting. God bless, thank you. Yeah, but I'm not retired from life or the study of leadership, and keep getting better. So, and that's why it's exciting to spend this whole day with young people, not some. We're all young at heart, Yeah, we're in the same club. So, because I've been with young people my whole life. They energize you. You know, they can be a little bit, but overall, you know, by being with young, you stay young. You have to keep adapting to the people you have the honor to lead and coach.
So, Coach, you have spent your life working in race and income diverse environments, but male-dominated environments, yeah. West Point, men's basketball. What would you think about adapting, and what would you keep the same if you were leading a team that was more gender mixed or predominantly female? And related to this, someone once said to me, I'll tell you who this someone is after you answer the question. Someone once said to me the biggest difference between Coach K and Bobby Knight is that Coach K had daughters, and that changed him. What do you think?
Well, we had 3 more kids, and by the way, we're done. You know,
I'll make sure to tell Mickey you said that.
Don't scare my wife. That would be a hell of a thing if we were not done. But I would have 3 more daughters. Yeah, I love my girls, and my wife. Having 4 amazing women on my side has been a gift, believe me. And I've learned what I call a woman's wisdom, sometimes reluctantly, I will admit that. And because I was able to see things differently. And, you know, they would tell me things that at first I said, don't bother, like, you're wrong. And then I said, you know, they were right. And so the best teams have a mixture of young, old, male, female, you name it. And because that diversity brings out strengths that only one entity might only have a certain amount of strength. But when you bring people like that, that's what makes this city so good, especially if it works together. Now you got to work together, but you got all these talents. And so, you know, I always ask my girls, what do you think? How do you feel? Whatever. Most of the time I don't have to ask them. They're going to tell me. One, just for all the guys in the audience. So you learn through your mistakes. So one of my worst mistakes occurred when my oldest daughter was pregnant with our first grandchild, Joey. And we're sitting around, the 4 girls and me. And there's some things that guys, ladies will be shocked, that we don't think of, all right? There's just some things that we just don't ever think of. And one of them was what my grandson would call me. I never thought of that. I was worried about beating Boeheim's zone or how to recruit somebody or whatever. So we're sitting, we're having some glass of wine, and my daughter Debbie said, Dad, what would you want Joey to call you? So I've never thought about this. Now, the biggest mistake I make is to answer that question without a question. What I should say is, Debbie, what do you think Joey should call me? But I'm an idiot. I'm coaching, I'm worried about recruiting. I'm not paying full attention, which guys do every once in a while. And so I blurted out and I said, Coach. Coach! And whew, I got hammered. And as I'm going like this, I then asked that question. You know, I'm sorry, I am arrogant. I am all the things that you just called me. Tell me what Joey should call me. And I became Poppy, and my wife Minnie. But so they were not afraid to put me on the hot seat at any time. And they're terrific. We have, like our group text, my 3 daughters, my wife and I, is the starting 5, okay? And so when I'm flying back home tonight, I'll look and I'll have pictures of grandkids, you know, what the latest drama in my 2 21-year-old granddaughters' lives. We don't watch drama. on TV because we have two 21-year-old granddaughters. That's enough. What happens Tuesday? Oh, what's going to happen? And anyway, it's fascinating. But the starting five, and I learned that here in Chicago from having a great family. As much as I wanted to be successful, I wanted to be as successful as my mom and dad, and my uncles and my aunts, and they're a really good family, and so. To me, that's the best team that I've been on, is the Krzyzewski team.
So my children assigned my grandparent name to me, and my assigned grandparent name is Gucci. And I'm pretty sure they're making fun of the way that I dress, but that's what they call me. And our family group text name is, and I didn't make this one up either, is the Mafia, which I don't really understand.
What are you doing in your spare time?
There
should be an investigation, I think.
My husband always says that it's good for me to be busy because it keeps me out of jail, and I don't really know where any of this stuff comes from. I don't know.
You weren't like that as a manager.
No.
She was one of our managers when she was a youngster.
That's right.
And so, in hard times, two of my toughest
just
seasons.
About to ask you about that.
Yeah.
So early in your career at Duke, you had 2 seasons in a row, 10-17, 11-17. There you are coaching that team.
I tried to cover the years.
Yeah. Some people doubted you and were calling for Tom Butters, the athletics director, to fire you. One way to say it is that they had lost faith in you. Tom Butters, on the other hand, never lost faith in you. And by the way, those 10-17 and 11-17 years were my freshman and sophomore year at Duke. And my college roommate, Karen, who you know, because she was also a basketball manager, Karen and I, we never lost faith in you either. But being a coach and being part of a coach's family carries a lot of expectations and quick judgments. How did you manage the doubts that people were raising, and talk about your relationship with Tom Butters, what it meant to you that he stuck by you, and how did you buffer your family in that situation?
Yeah, well, we all need people to believe in us, so you're not alone. And Tom believed in me to hire me. I was a West Point coach. I was 33, and we had a 73-59 record, but we had taken over a program that was 7-44. And I learned a lot. And he believed in me. And we started out. We won a little bit my first year, but then we had to build a program. We had to build a culture. And so, your second year, those 11 wins were with the best recruiting class in the country: Johnny Dawkins, Mark Ellery, Jay Billis, and those guys. And by the time they were seniors, they were 37-3, and we lost in the national champ. We were the #1 team in the country, and we lost in the national championship game to a great Louisville team. And but Tom believed in me to hire me, and then I never worried about being fired, and whether I was naive or whatever. It didn't make any difference what other people thought. It's what I thought and what our group thought. Like, you don't do things because of someone else's expectations on you. You have to own your own expectations. And I expected to win, but I knew it was going to take time. Thank goodness he did, and my president did. And it turned out pretty good. And but I believe in you, to me, are the 4 most powerful words on our planet, especially if you mean it. When you can, and I've said that many times to many youngsters when they were not believing in themselves. I believe in you. You need to believe in you. You're worthy of belief, and you can do it. And words are strong. Words are the strongest thing on this planet, and especially if they're meant with belief, if they're meant with belief. And so he was terrific. We have a fundraising group called the Iron Dukes, okay? I established a different group called the Concerned Iron Dukes. They were concerned about firing me. And this is, I watch my language, but I said, screw you, we're gonna win, and I'm never gonna have anything to do with you all. So you can, anyway. And there has to be, and part of that is the toughness growing up in a city, in Chicago. Like come on, I'm not gonna take your stuff, and my teams embodied that. And we looked for that when we recruited young men, where they had good character. They had to be really good too, but they had to have good character. They had to be good guys. And so I always say we recruited talent with character, not talented characters, all right? There's a big difference. But I love, Tom was a very, very important person in my life.
So I'm going to tell a story about when I was working for you as a basketball manager. We were playing a game during finals week. I was a math major. I had a big final the next morning. A couple of managers actually weren't at the game because they were in finals.
Right.
And it was halftime. I was in charge of the bench while everybody was gone. And it was finals week. I was tired, and I was sitting on the bench like this.
Not allowed, I guess.
So you came out, and you never came out at that time. Where did you come from? Like a ninja, you appeared, and you were peering over me, and you said, "You're looking a little sloppy on our bench, Miranda." And I kind of straightened up, stood up, and one of my favorite things that I learned from you is the difference between rules and standards.
Standards, yeah.
So here, you weren't telling me I was breaking a rule. You were telling me that I wasn't meeting a standard, and at the same time, you were telling me I was part of your team, which were three really powerful things to hear at the same time from, for a 19-year-old to hear that. So talk about this difference between rules and standards.
Yeah, well, when I went to West Point, you had this regulation book of so many rules, and I've never been a big rule person because you can't own a rule. You either obey it or you disobey it. But you can own a standard. And a standard is the way you do things all the time, and you hold each other accountable to doing it all the time. So with every one of my teams, including the US teams, we would have standards meetings, the first meeting every year, and say, how do you want to live together? So two of my standards that are non-negotiable are when we talk to each other, we're going to look each other in the eye. And the second one, we're always going to tell each other the truth, no matter what, because then we get to it right away. And what happens then with those two standards is you develop a value. So we had 7 values in our program, and one of them was trust. Imagine when I say something to you, you believe it, and you believe what I say, and when you say something back, I believe you. I call it the speed to trust. In your units, in your teams, and how quickly can you build a speed to trust? Or do you say, I don't know. The team that is not saying, I don't know, is kicking your butt right now. And so you can make it just that little thing. It costs nothing. But being honest with one another. And so I'm huge on the standards. And standards are like, with our US team, the first meeting you have LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne Wade, Chris Paul, all these guys in. And I told them, we're going to have a meeting and say about offense and defense. I said, no, we're going to have a meeting about how we're going to live together. So that the evening comes and I say, here's my 2. and now you want them to participate. So nothing can happen, right? Or something can happen. And Jason Kidd, who coaches the Mavs now, one of the all-time great guards, Jay Kidd, raised a hand and said, Coach, we should respect one another and be on time. You know, I said, what do you guys think? He said, yeah, we should be on time. I said, yeah, respect. I said, by the way, I have another standard. I just thought of it because we've lost 4 of the last 5 major competitions internationally because we've been arrogant and we haven't prepared. So I'd like one of our standards to be, we never have a bad practice. So it's not my practice, it's our practice. I said we need to become a team of plural pronouns. So we are all responsible for that practice. In the 11 years I coached the US team, those were 2 of our we never had a guy late, and we never had a bad practice. And then, you know, you'd have poise, look strong, versatility, don't let anything, we can handle any situation. Collective responsibility, we win and lose together. Care, we have each other's back. And during this meeting, we had 14 standards that came up, and the only guy who didn't contribute was LeBron. And he and I are really close friends, and so, but he raises his hand right at the end. So I said, man, this is unbelievable. We got all these guys contributing. And we always had a picture of the gold medal up in our meeting room. And he said, Coach, I dreamed of winning that gold medal. I dreamed of playing with Carmelo, Kobe, and all these guys. We're the best in the world, and we haven't won. No excuses. And when he said that, I get chills thinking about it right now. I said, I'm 18 again, okay? And without me prompting him, somehow the basketball gods made that happen. And no excuses became our first standard. So when we talk about standards, they're really living the way you should live, you know? But everyone owns it. And you know, if you own something, you're gonna fight for it. So the other thing I told him that night, I said, I want you to hear and see what we're doing, you know, how and what we're doing, how and what are important. But the most important thing is I want you to understand why. Like to me, whenever I talk to youngsters, I find your why. Why are you doing? With organizations that I speak to, you're worried about all the how and what. Why are you doing it? You know, where people can own it. So I told them that night, we're in Las Vegas, it's easy to get them there, you know. And I said, we're at the Wynn in Las Vegas, I said, when you go up to your rooms, I want you to be 16 for 1 minute. And what we did, we laid their Olympic uniforms on their beds. I'm sorry. Later that night, I was doing a service for the Wynn. I was checking their video poker machines to see if they worked. And they didn't. And I was at one that was particularly giving me trouble. But I'm determined. And all of a sudden, there's a tap on my shoulder. And I look up, it's Kobe Bryant. And I said, what's up? He said, Coach, I did what you asked me to do. And I said, what happened? He said, I cried. 2 days later, we brought in 3 wounded warriors from a striker unit in Iraq. One of my former West Point players was the commander of the striker unit. And one was blind, a guy named Scotty Smiley, who's a great friend, and 2 non-commissioned officers who had lost limbs. And they spoke to our team about selfless service, their why. They had no excuses, and they all wanted to serve again, all of them. You know, Scotty became the first blind officer ever in the Army. All my guys were crying. And so we used the military, which is the best team in the world, to help our team understand what it was to represent your country, the why in doing that. And in every organization that you're in, if you can take some time, the why, and the why can be a story of something that you've just done or somebody has done, where you can feel it, where you're not just doing, but you feel what you're doing. My brother was able to do that, God bless him, as a captain in the fire department. His men loved him. Big Bill, 6'5", 250. And he was able to get that feeling across. So that's what standards have a chance to do. And I've loved doing those things. And you'd be shocked at how much those pro players loved it. Yeah, they all wanted to be held accountable too. They wanted to get better. That's one of the reasons they were really good. They wanted to make each other better, and they wanted to be told the truth and how they could be better. A lot of times people are afraid to coach talent or teach talent and hold them accountable. And they're the ones who should really be held accountable, because then you set the example for the others. I always coached my best players the hardest. And that's what my coach in high school did for me. I was the best player. He coached me the hardest. He believed I should be better. And I got better because of that. And imagine using that and then having the honor of coaching the U.S. team. It's the same principle, really. It really is. You know, I'm going to coach you guys. I'm going to hold you accountable. We're going to live the same way. No preferential treatment, and let's win. And by the way, we did, and they owned it. They really embraced their why. I'm huge on the why thing. You know, and that comes from my family too. My family felt things. You know, why wouldn't you use that? It's to be able to feel is really damn good, man. Yeah. And if you can feel as a group about what you're doing and then accomplish it, God bless America, man. It works. It works.
So, Coach, you perfectly anticipated that I was going to ask you about coaching the national team and the Olympic team, but we are in Chicago, so UIC staff member Oscar Herrera wants to know your favorite memory of Derrick Rose.
Well, Derrick is a beautiful human being and one of the great guards ever. You know, his teams with the Bulls were that close to winning it all. And he loves Chicago. He is one of the easiest guys to coach. He has a heart of gold. And when he's healthy, you couldn't stay in front of him. I mean, he played, and he was okay with any role. He did not, even though he was as good as anybody, he could be anybody, as long as his team was really good. I know he's come back to Chicago. I think he's been honored by the Bulls. Mm-hmm. And what a really good guy. You know, what a great guy, and what a great player. What a great and representative of this great city. You know, Derrick's, you know, he'd be on my team anytime. I hope he would want me as his coach at any time too.
Well, I was talking to Derrick Rose the other day, and he asked me to say hello to you, tell you how much he enjoyed being coached by you. I'm just going to slide in sideways. I know how meaningful it is to be called coach, right. And I'm very intentional about always calling you coach. But do you know what Derrick Rose calls me?
A mafia boss.
No.
That was a guess. I messed it up again, right? How could I do that? What do you think I should call you? What an idiot. Don't tell my wife and daughters.
Derrick Rose calls me Queen.
Queen. Well, he must want something.
Come on, that's pretty good. So he's gonna come over and work with some of our students. We're really excited about that.
Yeah, that'd be great for, yeah. You know, that we need to do that more for this great university. Our great city needs to put its arms around this university. I mean, we have 34,000 kids are, going to school here. It's right in the middle of our city. It's serving our city in so many ways, especially low-income kids, which, to me, it's the greatest resource in our country that's going unused, is the talent that can be found in low-income neighborhoods. And what UIC, obviously they're doing more than that, but that's part of the mission that's going on. Our city needs to understand what a treasure this university is for this city.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think the people from the UIC community would agree with that. We're
Yeah.
trying to make sure. So I want to talk about Jimmy Valvano, coach at NC State. Whenever I think about Jimmy Valvano, I think, man, that was a big-hearted man. I think about that 1983 NCAA championship game. It's NC State's Cardiac Pack versus Houston's Phi Slamma Jamma, Akeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler. It's a tied game, 7 seconds to go. There's a shot from way outside. I watched this, but I assure you, this is like seared in my memory. A shot from way outside by Derek Wittenberg that is converted with a putback dunk by Low Charles, and NC State wins. There's all that, but what's forever memorialized in a video clip is Jimmy V, Coach V, running around after the game was won, looking for somebody to hug. He was that kind of man. So I know that you were good friends with Coach V. So talk a little bit about the friendship you had with him, the ways that coaches connect with each other, and I know that you're still connected to his foundation.
Yeah, well, we didn't always like one another. So he played at Rutgers and I played at Army. We competed as players. Then he coached at Iona and I coached at West Point. He actually, when he was coaching at Iona, he would go into a recruit's home and say, "I own a college." And they say, "You're too young to own a college." And say, "No, I coach at Iona." And so we competed hard, and then we came to the ACC, to North Carolina, the same year. And actually, Bobby Cremens came the year after. So an Italian, a Polish guy, and an Irishman. We invaded the South. And the ACC was never the same after that. And we had battles when he was at NC State, and then he was unjustly accused of some things, and NC State fired him. And he went into broadcasting and was as good a broadcaster as there ever has been. And we started to become friends during that time. And he had 3 daughters, Italian background, Polish background. He's from New York, Chicago. A lot of commonality. And we both loved the game and loved to have a good time. And then he contracted cancer, and incurable cancer. And so he spent the last 5 to 6 months of his life at Duke Hospital. And that's where we became brothers. I would visit him 2 or 3 times a week, and he'd kick everybody out, and he would laugh, cry. He was one of the funniest guys in the world. But he had an idea. I think it was divine intervention, really. And at that time, there's no cure for his cancer. There still has not been a cure for his cancer. But he said, only 1 in 6 researchers get funded. He said, what if one of those 5 had my cure? He said, I want to start this foundation, and I'm going to get ESPN, and it'll be called the V Foundation, to fight cancer, but to give research grants, okay? And so he recruited me one night, and I've been on that team. I've been one of the board members for over 30 years. It's raising over $400 million to fight cancer, and we are beating cancer. We haven't won the final thing. And one of the big events for the V Foundation, we have a wine celebration in Napa Valley, okay? And I host it. I know that he would have wanted to host it, and so I said, I'll host that. So I've hosted it for about 20 years. We've raised about 165 million to fight, and it's a beautiful event. Yeah, no, it's and it's completely, the V Foundation is completely endowed. Every dollar that's donated goes to research. You don't have to worry about someone getting a slice here or a slice there. Boom, it's all going to beat cancer. So last summer, this is cool, we have a board meeting in Napa, but we have a scientific committee of about 30 of the top oncologists in the country, and we honor them, and they're part of our board meeting. And then we have a symposium. They've actually named it after my family, and they granted one of the grants in honor of me and my wife, Mickey. So I got to meet the doctor, Dr. Sita Kugel, the Hutchinson Cancer Center in Washington. And she's this tiny, not queen, but she was, and we're having breakfast with her, and then we're going to go to a symposium. And I said, so tell me about where you're at with all this. And she said, we're close to clinical trials. When you get close to clinical trials, you got a chance. But we need a couple $100,000 more dollars. And she said, I'm actually working on the cancer that killed Jimmy. So start crying, man. Like, are you kidding me? And so that night, I give like a motivational speech, and then we have a big auction where we raise anywhere from 10 to 20 million, depending on what happens. So before the auctioneer comes on, John Curley, who's great, I said, there are like 30 lots. So I said, I have the first lot, and I bring her up on stage. And I said, the basketball gods, the gods have been good. Our research grant, this is Sita Kugel. She's working on the cancer that killed my brother, Jim. And she needs $200,000. So my wife and I said, we're donating $100,000, and I only want to see paddles up for people who are going to give $100,000. And immediately, 14 paddles went up. It was an amazing event. She was crying like crazy because, and who knows, maybe in the next year or so, isn't it crazy how that can happen? And so being a part of the V Foundation has been amazingly rewarding, and we're going to win. Mm-hmm. No, we are. These docs are doing amazing stuff, but my brother died of cancer, my mom died of breast cancer, and come on, in every one of your families, you either have a friend or family member who's died. It's, we need to win. We need to win. So the V Foundation is doing that. So, how about Sita Kugel, right? You can't make that crap up, how the hell did that happen?
Yeah. So the people from UIC in the audience, I think many of you are aware, and you are as well, Coach, that our youngest daughter battled cancer in high school, beat it, hit her 5-year mark. Now she's enrolled in medical school, and we're as a family, we're just so grateful to people like you and others who are willing to put your resources behind making sure that more people have the good outcomes that our beautiful daughter had.
Yeah,
so.
In this Polish Catholic community that I grew up in, one of the things you learn, to whom much is given, much is expected. Yeah. And if you're lucky enough, I've been really lucky, you got to be kidding me that, PJ Carlesimo is one of the announcers, and he's like a brother to me. And we have this thing when one of us has got our nose out of joint, we'll call up, hey, one way. I say, shut up, PJ. you can't be a one-way guy. You got to be a two-way guy. And so when you have good fortune, you're a two-way person. Yeah, just be, it's easy. It really is easy. And it really, it's your responsibility to do that. You know, if you're a good person, you do that. Yeah, you do that, and that's why I think what's happening here with all the, the people that you're helping at UIC to give them a valuable education, it needs to be supported more by our city, by industry. This isn't a school that has alums that are old like the Ivies or even Duke. We're a younger university, but we have some people who have a lot of money. A lot of the people who graduate from here have not gone into that. So you need industry, you need businesses, you need people that have benefited greatly from being in Chicago. You're looking to give back, and help this university become, look, it's not going away. And you have the best real estate in the world right here, right? I mean, we're not going to put up condos here or anything, although we could get a lot for them.
But we're not going to do that.
Yeah. But no, really, it's today's been really interesting for me because I've been with so many good people who are proud to be here, and what I see are possibilities. So many possibilities. When you get good people with good motives and a good mojo, come on, let's do something special. Let's do something special.
So there are many things you excel as as a coach, but my own opinion, for what it's worth, is that you shine most brightly as a floor coach. And for those of you who are not basketball fans, by that I mean like in that last 6, 7, 8 minutes of a game, how do you coach the team then? And there are 3 quotes here of yours that especially come to mind. One of them, use it all the time. People here have heard me say this all the time. Make the goal worthy of your team's commitment. Another one is adjustments are not unusual, they are usual. And the third one is show your team the face they need to see. At this particular moment in the history of our country and in the history of higher education, I am spending a lot of time thinking about how to be a good floor coach to this wonderful university. Talk about the difference between getting your team ready for a game and then helping them to play the game that is happening in real time.
Well, that's the excitement. When I was at West Point, I was a point guard for Coach Knight, and I learned a lot from him. He's a great coach, and one of the things that I learned from him was he would say, the preparation to win is more important than the will to win. But if you have both the will to win and the will to prepare to win, then you'll be worthy of winning. And so I prepared like crazy for every game. And I people say,
every practice too.
And practice, I wrote a practice plan every night.
I remember them.
For 47 years in the U.S. So I've probably written 5,000 practice plans. And that's 5,000 nights where that's like 13, 14 years. But I don't regret it. In order to do what I love, I have to be prepared to do what I love. And so you go in with a game plan for practice or a game plan for a game, but then when the game's going on, it's not always the game plan. And so you have to have the ability to be agile to make reads adaptable, during that time. And in the last few minutes, it's the ending, right? I mean, better be at your best at the end, but you now have what you thought was going to happen and prepared for, and then what actually has happened. And can you put the two together in those last few minutes to do what's needed right now? And I love that part of the game. And I was really good in math, and still am. Not as good in English, but in math. And I would, that's one pass, that's 2 seconds, that's this. We have a 3, we're 6 points up, 3 possessions if we don't give up a 3. No threes, no fouls. Don't stop the clock. We're the only sport in the world that can score. You can advance the ball and score when time is not going off. So it produces this amazing amount of things where stuff happens. And so at the end of a ball game, it wasn't just about the stuff you wanted to happen, it was the stuff that you didn't want to have happen. So you're kind of doing a little dance as to what, without showing, like you're afraid or anything like that. At West Point, we were taught to always have a strong face. That worry is something that everybody does at some time. I've never worried. All right, you're an idiot. You have worried something. Come on. Tell the truth, for crying out loud. You were scared at some time or afraid, or else you're a Martian, you're an alien, And so, but when you feel that, don't show it. Don't let your team see weakness. And we had a thing called, if you show that, then speak to action. Speak in a positive way where we're going to do this, or we're going to get it done. You can do it. And a lot of times in situations, it wasn't telling a player what to do. It was asking him, can you do this? I'm going to set this up. You got it? Coach, I got it. Where you get them to verbally say that they're going to do it, and then they've already kind of done it, or they have a better chance of doing it. So all that kind of stuff. And then the only thing that could muddy the waters are bad officials, all right? Because there's no repellent.
I've become very familiar with
come
bad
over
officials.
Here. I want to talk to you. And they would go away. They never went away. They never went away. And you have to react to that.
We're doing a lot of reacting to bad officials right now.
Yes. We just had a very difficult loss in the Final Four. And where I thought all 4 teams in the Final Four were worthy of winning. The 4 best teams were there. And really, one play for any of the teams, if they could change, they might be national champions. That's how close it was. And so I feel really bad for our group of kids and for Coach Shire, because you're that close. And then only one, our game is cruel, and only one team wins.
Only one team wins their last game.
Yeah, so in the 47 years I coached, only in 5 seasons did we end with a win. And then it ends abruptly, because you didn't plan on losing that game. You planned on playing another game, and now you're not. No, you're not. It's over. So those are the toughest times in a locker room to deal with a team, when you don't achieve that championship, but they've given championship effort. And it's very difficult to console them at that point, which I know John Shire was doing with our team on that Saturday night in San Antonio. It was a very difficult thing for him.
Yeah. So that's the end of our questions, but I have a few other things that I'd like to do.
Sure. You're the queen.
I'm the queen.
You got the mafia on your side.
So I want to thank everybody in the audience for coming out. This has been a really special day for us to have you here, Coach K. And I am especially grateful for all the people in the audience who, in coming out, supported UIC Aspire, which is the financial aid program we talked about at the beginning of the session. And you heard Coach K say that this university needs more support. So, if you feel moved, we'll be blessed.
Let me interrupt you just for a second. Now that how many of you are here on campus for the first time? Just look around. There are a lot of you. Come back.
Yep.
Come back. This is important. This is a treasure for our city that really, I didn't realize how big and how beautiful it is and all the things that it was doing. I learned so much today, but one of the things, I'm glad it's the first time. It's the first time I've been on the whole campus. I just would drive by on Damon Avenue when I was 16, and that's not a good look. And what really was a tough look at that time. It was a pretty tough look.
So the next thing I have here for you, it's a resolution from the Illinois House of Representatives. I want to thank Representative LaShawn Ford. I know he's here somewhere. Oh, there he is in the front row.
He's a Weber graduate.
He's a Weber graduate,
Yeah,
that's
they never
right.
should have closed our school. Thank you.
So I'm not going to read the whole resolution because it's 2 pages long, but I will read an excerpt from it, and there's a copy of the full resolution
Thank
for
you.
you. And the excerpt that I'll read is that whereas the Chair Chat series further underscores UIC's commitment to educational excellence, research innovation, and civic engagement by connecting students, faculty, and community stakeholders with impactful leaders like you who inspire meaningful change. Therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 104th General Assembly of the State of Illinois that we recognize and commend the University of Illinois Chicago for its commitment to fostering leadership and dialogue through the Chair Chat series, and we celebrate the upcoming event featuring Coach K. Be it further resolved that we applaud Coach K for his distinctive legacy of leadership.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you very much.
that's for
Thank
you. Now, I also have a little bag down here. This is from your friends at St. Helens. You might recognize it.
This is good. It's great.
There you go.
But the back is,
There you go.
thank you.
Coach K is a humble person, and he left out the part about the reason that they named the renovation of the old church into a gym, the reason that they named it Krzyzewski Court after Coach K and his brother is because Coach K and his brother contributed significantly to that renovation. So
Yeah, thank
that's
you.
so another gift.
This is pretty good. Keep going.
There you go. We've got another gift for you. There's a cultural historian in Chicago named Sherman Dilla Thomas, and he's famous for his phrase, "Everything dope about America comes from Chicago."
Yeah.
So we have a collaboration with him, and when I think about everything dope about America that comes from Chicago, I think about you, Coach K.
Thank you. So, can I look at it?
You can.
I like ribbons. I didn't want just growing up with guys, but I learned to like ribbons. Yeah. Okay. Oh, this is cool. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So I'm going to wear it. It's warmer, although you have a beautiful day here. It's warmer in North Carolina. But on cold mornings, I'll put this on. I have a dog, so I'm a big dog lab guy. And my dog is named Coach. I didn't name him. My team gave it to me. And so when Coach and I are out walking, I'm going to rep UIC, right here in Chicago. And when and I'll wear it in September and October. In October, when the Cubs are in the World Series.
There you go.
We got a chant, although we just lost the pitcher, right? Yeah. Damn. Don't get any more people hurt, all right?
Here we go. And the last thing I'll mention, I have felt it has been a gift my entire life to count you as a mentor, as a coach, as a friend, and it's been incredible for us to have be graced with your presence this entire day. And in honor of your visit here, my family will be making a gift in your family's honor to the UIC Aspire.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, how lucky am I to have had this person in my life for 4 decades? And we'll close it out unless there's any last remarks that you would like to make.
Yeah, but this has been, I hope you've enjoyed it. I've really, hope you can see how proud I am to be here and how good it is to be in Chicago, But thank you for coming out. To me, this has been about believing in my friend. When she took over here less than 2 years ago, because she had been at Duke. She was helping us get better. And then we've maintained this. And to take on this leadership role is huge, is huge. Throughout today, I knew she was really good. I didn't know she was in the mafia. That her side bet is being a queen. But I watch leaders everywhere. And going around with her today, she knew everybody. She not only knew everybody, she knew the title of what you do. She knew what you did, what you were doing, how you were doing it right now. And we'd be in a room of 50 people and be boom, 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 boom. I can't remember all 10 of my grandkids' names if we got them all together. And that is exceptional. That's amazing. And you're amazing. And to be a part of this of today, thank you for the warmth that you've shown. Especially brings a smile to my face about St. Helens, my parish. And I wish Weber was still there. And but you know what's still here? Chicago. And it's
there you go.
Yeah, it's the city, it's the best. So thank you for having me as your guest, and I hope it was worthwhile for you to come this afternoon. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.